sort live ray. Maar begint de paradij at alle den finish got kan jan te dirach garte mag redden to way. Na be geen naglor den er vader maar ja nog to way to heen. Begint de chorle lord dat in eigen hikken chorle maar wel en dan is kom lord gay oitain. Na be rovi I nach toch wel er de kluschach der loose heen. Skint de chuki an stok nog het rovi an nach dich begint de gamma gosse gosh came heen is shachan on dalamalo now shachan on dalamalo. Shachan on dalamalo does no not bread them hikken to way. Shachan on dalamalo now shachan on dalamalo. Shachan on dalamalo does no not bread them hikken to way. Fer kom mor satan sleta fer kom mor satan arga fer kom mor satan dan mor lash na dini bagatana kone ya.
Seasons change. The years pass by. Throughout Europe, over thousands of years, many colourful, exciting and often macabre rituals evolved and developed around the measurement of time and the charting of seasonal changes. Such rituals often asserted the victory of life over death, celebrating vitality, growth and fertility. Today we can experience an echo of this ancient past in the masked, mischievous tradition of mumming. A wild and wonderful spectacle, the mummer's performance defies description. Whilst it centres around a dramatic battle, the performance can feature all sorts of singing, dancing and general tomfoolery. It being a folk tradition, the rules, if any, are there to be broken. Sure, it's not even clear where it came from in the first place.
The accepted theory is that it came in the 17th century and that it was brought with planters, with settlers who came from the north of England.
I am convinced that mumming goes back to the Celtic times. It's an old Celtic tradition, or is it even an Irish tradition?
It has a connection with the English form of mumming that apparently that it came into Dublin, first of all, by the British.
Go back to pre-Christian fertility rites, probably of Celtic origin, and they're all about bringing health and life and happiness.
I imagine that mumming came to Ireland from England and has been adapted to suit the Irish audience.
Various interpretations of what mumming means, but generally in the Irish context, people just see it to mask. Once you put on the mask on a person, that person becomes somebody else. You're able to be somebody else and you're able to act out some other character. It is bring absolute distraction and a bit of merriment into what is otherwise a dreary existence in midwinter.
The house visit involves a number of people visiting, going from house to house. Now in the case of mumming, it's actually performing a piece of drama, a piece of folk drama. And there is a very set form that this takes. They come to the door, they knock on the door, or they blow a horn as they're approaching the house to announce their arrival. They knock on the door and they formally ask permission to come inside. Disguising oneself is quite important from a social perspective because many of the mummers would have been young men going out, and this would be have given them license to behave in a way that they wouldn't normally be permitted to behave. There would be an element of courtship about it. There would be an element of surprise. There's a fun element for the audience in trying to identify who the person is. And of course the mummers often speak in a very clipped or style of mumbling. That's what the term mumming originally means, and from the Middle Ages it means to mumble.
Here comes I, Captain Moore, and all me merry men. Room, room, give us room to rhyme, and we'll show you some activity around this Christmas time.
They perform their play and then they're rewarded with food in the past. Nowadays they're normally given some money and perhaps a drink.
Here comes I, the Beelzebub, and under my arm I carry a club, and in my hand a frying pan. Am I the jolly wee man?
We got drinks in houses and we done all sorts of things in houses. Maybe some things we wouldn't like to repeat.
This is a completely country scene. You can imagine the situation where you're in a little country house and we're just reaching the use of reason, and nobody would have told us, and suddenly at Christmas time, because it's a very odd occasion that the mummers would appear. In fact, it was the only one time of the year around Christmas time and Halloween that they would appear. And in they come with their big hats and whatnot, and they would go around the floor and they'd do the business. There'd be song, music, dance, there'd be a little bit of street theatre and whatnot that you would have. And out they would go, and we were scared actually. That's my first memory of mumming. That's the one memory I have. It was a scary thing.
Here comes us that didn't come yet. Big head and little wit. The more my head is big and my wit is small. But you will do your dance that'll please you all.
The principal characters, certainly in the north of Ireland, are King George, also known as Prince George, and the Turkey champion, our Turkish champion. Often the Turkish champion is replaced by St. Patrick. This, of course, is an Irish addition to the play.
Listen, I'm bright. I'm the number champion like twice a gallant night.
And there's a combat between these two protagonists.
Let hear your heart and make you die. Oh, well, sir.
And the battle is the core element of the play. The plot, all as simple as it is, hinges around this combat. You're spilling blood, but you're paying the debt of nature. So you're laying the groundwork for the new year to begin. The slain hero or combatant, he's revived by a doctor, a quack doctor who carries with him a case. He's obviously a very important figure, and you could theoretically reduce the play to those four characters.
Here comes I, Doctor Good and Sure. This man here, sir, of his deep and deadly wounds I cure. What can you cure, Doctor? I can cure many, many things, sir. I can cure things like the big plague, the wee plague, the plague within, the plague without, the pip, the pole, the palsy, and even that blasted gout.
Give me an old doll of 80 years and 10, with a knuckle of our big tubercle on, and I can put that on again.
Got a wee bottle here called Hocus Pocus Sally Campaign.
Does it work?
Never fails.
I think finished their prayer just in case.
The Sally Campaign, it's this magical form of medicine. It's the whole mystery of how this person lying is resurrected from the dead. You know, with this Hocus Pocus Sally Campaign, rise up, dead man, and fight again.
Another important character in the play, obviously, is the captain, or the, if you like, the narrator of the play. Sometimes he's simply called Room, and he's the person who introduces. He's the first man into the house, into the kitchen, and he, as it were, narrates and introduces each character as they come in.
Right. Here comes I, Captain Mummer, and all me merry men.
In addition to these central characters, a host of other characters can be seen taking part.
Here comes I, Beelzebub!
Here comes I, Beelzebub! And under me arm I carry a rope!
Here comes I, Oliver Cromwell. Here my well supposed, in conquered many's the nation, with the uncommon nose.
Here comes I, Bear Slasher. That song is mine, you've ever seen. My body made of air.
Here comes I, wee Jenny Wren, queen of all the birds.
Here comes I, Miss Honey.
Here comes I, the Irish Colleen, and I'm the sweetest wee lass that you've ever seen.
The horse, for most people nowadays, when they see the white horse, they know that it's a figure of fun, and they know that the horse is brought out to strike fear into young women who are fertile, and the threat is that if the white horse touches any unsuspecting young female, then pregnancy will result instantly.
The Wren boys in County Kerry always carry a white horse, a white mare, the Lár Vaughan they call it, and it appears to have a very old European basis, the idea of the hobby horse that you carry about with you. And there is evidence for it. The Ederney Mummers, for instance, have a horse that they include in the play, and so that is an essentially Irish element that has been added to the play.
In Acklamad, mummers start young, and over the years may play a variety of characters.
Well, you get to dress up in costumes and you get to go places and people clap for you and you get lots of treats.
With my little sock tail sticking out. Too much for one, too little for two.
Well, I played Devil Out.
And you like it?
I do like it. I played many parts from junior right up to senior, and this has been my main part for quite a while, and it's good crack.
Here comes I, wee Devil Out, and on the best wee Devil with me, short tail sticking out. Whoa, 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 Hocus pocus, Sally campaign. Rise up then man and fight again.
In staging a miraculous return to life, the Mummers' play, traditionally performed midwinter, celebrates the victory of life over death. This cycle of nature was celebrated by our ancient ancestors who built this passage grave in Newgrange over 5,000 years ago. It is only in the darkest depths of December that light enters Newgrange, marking an end to the death and decay of winter and a time to look forward to growth and rebirth in nature. Could this carved trispiral, a clear precursor to St. Patrick's shamrock, symbolise the mystery of the continuous cycle of life, death and rebirth?
It is no accident that many of them of the cairns are built on mountaintops to be close to the sun gods and the gods of the wind, and it's absolutely no accident that the mummers, to celebrate midsummer, would also go up onto the mountaintops, again closer to the sky, and perform bonfires and rituals connected with the bonfire.
Throughout Europe, we see similar mysterious performances, rituals and traditions which explore ideas of death and rejuvenation.
In the Morris, we celebrate that in the winter, particularly with Leominster, with the blessing of the apple orchard. So they'll grow in the spring, and it's the old death and rebirth cycle, which repeats every year, and it's that cycle of the years and the seasons and fertility that we're trying to promote.
It is interesting to see that the use of straw extends beyond Acklamad and Ireland. In these Bulgarian midwinter rituals, straw symbolises the life force of nature which will soon be returning with the arrival of spring. In days gone by, straw was at the very heart of life. You thatched your roof with it, you made ropes, Bridget's crosses, and love knots with it.
There's something very appealing about straw because it's such a natural product. And there's also something very essential about it. And of course, it's freely available.
Oats and wheat were used to feed animals and, of course, humans.
There's something very natural, there's something very homely about straw.
My understanding of it is that it's a means of disguise, and that's what this is all about, the mask. The straw being, I suppose, a cheap form of material in those early days, whereby it was homegrown, and it was then we had people, experts who can make various masks and belts and all sorts of different types of costume. So yes, it is vitally important to us, the straw.
Here comes Jack Straw, all the way from Lisbon. Maize, flax, hemp, hoe. Hey, the mammals are right, this'll go. Go.
The straw makes our group stand out from the rest of the groups. And long ago, people were poor, and straw was the best idea to come up with for making costumes. So it was cheap to get at the time. So that, I think, is the reason why the straw started off in Acklamad.
people it's important that they understand what it's about and gives them some clear picture of why they're doing it and what it's for, and the fun and the crack. And obviously at the end of the day that's what it's all about, enjoyment, and really, you know, the understanding of it is important to a certain extent, but I don't think, you know, we need to get overly tied up about the real meaning of it. It brings people together, and as far as I'm concerned it brings the community together, and that's really why I'm in it. The importance of bringing our community together, both young and old, and to get them mixing, and to just to get them to enjoy life in general, and that's in a general way, that's what it's all about.
I think mumming is quite safe. I think the custom of mumming will endure for a long time to come. There may be times in certain places where it fades away for a number of years, but almost certainly will be revived.
And we were all standing at the cross after doing about 4 hours hard mumming, and he said over to me, I was the ringleader or the boss in the music end of it and keeping the whole thing on the road, and my brother was playing the accordion, and we were chatting about how we had done and it would count the money on such a night, and this bright fella come up and he says, you know, it's a mighty way to see in the inside of everybody's house.